You want to pull up that? You want to pull up the website? Remember, there's a dash there.
Alpha Lima Tango.
Yeah, so I gotta order Tony a special shirt. He wants the molecule shirt, but in green,
Lime
green. The molecule shirt, the oh bother shirt. Have you seen? Did you look on the website at all?
Oh, I saw the oh bother thing.
Did you see the description of it?
Oh, I think I did read that one. I can't remember what it said offhand.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah, and then you throw it on the screen so we can look at it. Yeah. So I've been trying to for the shirts. I've been trying to put just ridiculous, maybe not ridiculous, but interesting descriptions and stuff. They click on the.
You need me to write a description?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you go to the shop. It'll pull it up top.
So you're saying it's all right to go over the top?
Yeah, over the top.
Dare I say?
That's a phenomenal movie.
Full.
No,
just kidding, guys.
Yeah, so that's right. I need to bother, and then the places we could go, Eeyore.
That's funny.
Because it just reminded me of the frowny face, and it just seems like part of his body, part of his body just kind of falls off. Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, a little shameless plug there. T-shirts are up at the website. We've had order. An order, I think at this point. I haven't really told too many people about it. I started throwing it up, advertising it, but
nice.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said something about how we had T-shirts up on the website and they're Bella Canvas. They're like that's the only shirt I wear. I was like, the most comfortable shirts ever. So those are up there, but I'll get you a special order one. So if anybody out there has some ideas for some fun shirts, I'm down to do some fun stuff. But that shirt is I haven't told anybody what that molecule shirt is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's I just want people to have to figure it out.
Oh.
So
my patients always ask me when they see that one picture on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
You gonna wear that one to work?
Oh, 100%. I had a Guinness shirt on the other day, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. I think it's most people don't look at it, so it's a lot of people what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you really want to know? Because I'll tell you.
Are there two N's? N?
Yeah. So it'll be
dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah. I have some other ideas for some shirts, but I figured I'd throw those up there first. But they're super nice shirts. I think those ones that I have that I gave Miles one, I think he's gonna enjoy them.
I was thinking of him when I drove by Wolfie's the other day.
Oh, dude. It was so funny.
I almost stopped at the bridge to do a little exploring.
Just to see if it was underneath the bridge.
If not, I was going to put another one down there for the kids.
Just for anybody that goes and looks for it.
For Miles.
Oh, man. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of feedback from that one. People enjoy it.
I need to find a porn mag from the 80s, though.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
When there was still bush.
Yeah, but they're going to be like, man, this seems awfully in pristine condition. Unless you can find one that's been used and abused and shoved under a bridge.
I'm sure we could find a use for it.
I don't know if I'd want to find it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. He loved it, though. He had a great time. So and I had a great time. So
yeah, it was highly irreverent.
Yeah.
Highly
irreverent. Yeah. But I think it all worked out well. So it's funny. Some of the looking back at some of the things that the people we've talked to and some of the conversations we've had, because I think one of the most listened and viewed was Rose's episode.
Yeah,
naturally, because I think she has a big following.
Sure,
and, but some of the episodes I've gotten most comments out of were Miles.
Yeah.
And the Bitcoin one, Texas. And when we were talking about Texas and Bitcoin, I was I never thought people would listen to that. And even the Invisible Ships guys, they can be oh man, I was listening to to the Texas and Bitcoin one. Like, man, I was really enjoying that. And I had people text me like, oh, like what happened? Like, cause I cut off and I had to like kind of whatever. They're like, man, I was really enjoying that discussion. I'm like, what? I never, maybe some people are just as curious as I am. I don't know.
More chronic curiositors out there?
Is that a word?
No,
No.
it definitely is not. It is
Let's
now.
see.
Nice
No.
little neologism for you. I was going to tell you, man, I was at I think it was Friday night, I was at a bar, and one of our old employees was like, hey, man, you should come out to a local bar. And his girlfriend was with him. And I said something about a podcast. And he was like, you do a podcast? And she was like, yeah, you didn't know he does a podcast? She's like, I've listened to like every episode. And I was like,
his girlfriend knows
yeah. She's like, I'm a fan. I was like, well, appreciate you listening.
That's funny. Yeah, I feel like with summer coming, it's going to be, and we got a lot of things going on. But I think we've gone through some heavy, I know we just kind of did a 6-month recap just recently, but I think we've had some heavy episodes and some long ones. So I think it might be an idea to kind of tone it down a little bit. And as much as I hate to appeal to people's short attention spans, I don't know, I'm kind of like, I think the Miles episode really like refreshed, like hit the refresh button for me. There was like, oh, like let's do more ridiculous shit. Not necessarily ridiculous shit, but like, I don't know, just whatever. Like, I think there's I feel like we've covered so many topics and like had like so many different, like a variety of things, like, but there's got to be more out there. Just whatever. And I think people are surprised because I think I get a lot of feedback that people are like, oh, I had someone that was listening to the Miles episode that I hadn't talked to in probably a couple months call me. And they're like, I was like, hey, like, and I talk to him every couple months and known him for years. And he was like, hey, how's it going, man? He's like, oh, I'm doing good. He's like, just driving down the road, laughing my ass off, listening to this Miles episode. I'm like, it was a wild one. And, and then he goes, he's like, well, this is the first one I've listened to. He's like, I'd like to check out some of the other ones. Like, what are the other ones like?
Not like that one.
Yeah, I said, nothing like Miles. I said, he goes, well, he's like, what are some good ones? He's like, well, are they all good? I said, well, obviously I'm a little biased. But
I wouldn't say they're all good, but
yeah, but
they're all decent, and there's some that are very good and some that are superlatively speaking.
No, but they all have their pieces.
Yeah, for sure.
They're all the pieces of the puzzle that fit in their own place.
For sure.
But I was like, well, I guess it all depends on what you want, man. I said, we do everything from super serious and heavy conversations to, well, the Miles episode.
Yeah.
I was like, and if you like alien talk, maybe check out the Chris Dewin episode because we touched on, but even that episode, it's not all about aliens. Like it's a bunch of different stuff. Like it's about his kids beating on him with toys he got from California, like ninja toys. Like so you never know what you're going to get. It's just conversations with people. I've really, and I think when people hear like something completely different, I think the Invisible Ships guys brought that up too, where it's, they said that they listened to Miles' episode and it was hilarious. I like to the last episode was just hilarious. I said, yeah, he's a wild card,
Yeah.
but like people hear one thing or they listen to a podcast and they know what to expect because it's just constant like thing. And I really like how it's evolved to this point where it's, even I don't know what to expect. Then people are just like, oh man, you listen to one episode and the next episode is completely different. So I think that we should just continue to do that.
I feel like it's just getting blindfolded and just eating a Jelly Belly. Like, dude,
ooh,
what are you going to get? Cat vomit, or are you going to get something delicious?
Yeah, or like strawberry daiquiri. I don't know.
Fantastic.
Yeah, either way. It really is. I don't think any of them have been cat vomit, though.
No, I wasn't trying to say any of them were cat vomit. Maybe cat shit, but
There's been
I'm just joking.
there's been some shit. But it's okay.
I'm just joking.
But yeah, you have to listen. You have to go back and just listen to them, and find out what you like on your own.
I think you pulled the first 3, didn't you?
Yeah. So, well, like it was the first 2 were essentially just like a 4-hour weird rant thing that just, and we'd had the discussion before where like, people like start something like, oh, I wish I could like go back and restart it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can't do that. But at the same time, like they didn't really fit the mold. Not that we have, like, obviously we just got done talking about how we don't have a mold.
Eclecticism, that's it.
Yeah, but they didn't just quite, they just didn't quite fit. So we pulled the first 3 just because it was, I'll tell you this is a little insight, because I realized people were going, and as they found the podcast, they'd listen to the first episode.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation.
Right. So it was like, not that, and for I fought it for a long time inside myself, because it was like, well, like, fuck it. Like, this is what it is. Fuck what people think. I don't care. But I think after those first 3 episodes that were out, like, there was some kind of flow to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want people. Why is it? That's so weird. Oh, I gotta figure. I've been messing with it. I don't want people to listen to the first episode and go, "Ugh."
That's
because,
what all of them are like. Yeah.
Right, because the first 3 episodes are nothing like the rest of them.
Yeah.
So that was why we pulled them. But the rest of them are pretty much. I mean, there's been some evolution
For sure.
along there, particularly with the video aspect of it, and
Yeah.
But I think the rest of them they have a feeling. They have a vibe. There's a vibe to them.
More than a feeling.
Yeah, more than a feeling. There's not a mold, but there's a vibe. I would say there's definitely a vibe. So, yeah. Long story short, T-shirts are on the website, and there's all types of ways to interact. Because somebody asked me that the other day too. They said, how can people reach out, or how's the audience interact, whatever. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can, post comments or whatever. But if you go to the website, chronic-curiosity.com, there's ways to see all that, all of the links for the Instagram and everything. But there's emails, and there's also the forum on there. I don't really expect the forum to like do anything for a long time, because that's kind of like an arcane type of thing. But I put it up there just in case people want to, I don't know. It wasn't hard to do, so I just did it. If people want to, throw ideas or whatever out there. Ooh, actually, I should say this now. We do have an idea I think we're going to do. We're going to do the hat thing.
Yeah.
You down for that?
Yeah, no, I think that, are you talking about kind of what I was saying with like what Andy Stump does on Fridays? With
Yeah, in a sense.
Friday,
yeah.
So you get people suggest some ideas, or they ask a question or something. We throw them in the hat, and then we pull them out, and then we just talk about them.
Yeah. So the idea is, and this is probably going to happen. I'd like to do it like occasionally, like maybe like
once a month.
Yeah, maybe it's once a month or once every like 6 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was an idea, which I don't know why we never thought about doing that, because that's really neat, especially with this. Did you say that? Oh no, well. Oh, now she's pissed. I don't remember the questions thing. I remember you talking about people interviewing us and reversing the roles. Castle's getting all pissed off.
Yeah, we offended someone, and I didn't even use an R word yet.
Yeah.
I literally suggested that, like podcast number 5, because you had a gap, and I said, why don't you put on Instagram, ask people some questions. What do people want to hear? Give you ideas. I'll read them. But
okay. Well, yeah. No.
It's fine. You guys figured it out on your own.
No, maybe.
I'll let it continue.
That's right. Well, you just have to be more aggressive next time.
No.
Episode 5 was a long time ago.
I was just trying to help you out.
Yeah, that was probably like 20 bottles of bourbon ago.
Probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, the plan is to do that. And I think we'd like to have a full table, have like not really a panel, but at least 2 more guests.
Oh, I thought you meant like someone that we knew was going to build us a legit table. I thought that's what you were getting at.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait. I thought we had
Tyler Baso.
I thought we already had that. No, maybe not. I almost texted him on his birthday because I saw it was his birthday recently.
Yeah.
I almost was like, "Hey, happy birthday! Where's my fucking table?"
Dude.
But I thought that would have been kind of weird.
I don't know why. I shouldn't even tell this story, but I'm going to tell it.
There we go.
I called him. It was the day before his birthday, and I was at Huff's house, and we were working out, and we were just huffing. You know, we're always talking crap,
Right.
And I saw there was this bat, and it was flying overhead, and it was flying real slow. Like this bat was just real slow. And Huff's like, "Is that a bat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's like the world's slowest bat." And it was headed right towards Tyler's parents. And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "That's a bat." I'm like, "Can't you see it sending out its gaydar headed towards Tyler's parents? It knows he's there." Yeah. So I called him up and told him that. He's like, "I'm so glad that's how you think of me. Such fond memories." He's like, "I love you." Oh.
Old Tyler. He's
We give him a lot of crap, but he's a good dude.
He is. He is. He's just always late and delayed. Like he's like work. I just remember with work on your deck at one point. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come help out," and then he shows up like 2 hours late.
And then he was just got so drunk he was falling off of stuff.
Right, within a half an hour. Like
so was Jesse though.
Yeah. Thanks for the help, Tyler.
Wasn't that him when I moved?
Oh yeah,
he moved the very last piece of furniture.
Yeah, the very last piece. We're like, all right, that's it. There's one more piece. No one's gonna help you.
Old Johnny come lately himself.
Yeah, but he puts a smile on people's faces.
That he does.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna have people. The idea is to kind of maybe do that. So if that's another way to contact us, there's an email up there and whatnot. But questions, ideas. I think that'd be. I think we're like a minute or like maybe 30. I think 30 seconds is probably too short. But like a minute, just pull a question or like pull like even maybe we could even boil it down to like questions or ideas or like conspiracy theories or just a one word. You end up just pulling something out. It's just one word and you get a minute.
30 seconds to the man across the table, please. Okay. 30 seconds granted.
Yeah. to the congressperson from whatever. I yield the rest of my time.
I don't think you should be able to see them ahead of time, though.
Oh no, absolutely not.
That's the plan.
So,
well,
yeah.
I think it's not going to be. What do I do? Yeah, either we'll collect them all, but then it's just literally. I think we just put a.
Someone going to read them, or are we going to have to learn like Braille or Morse code and then figure them out that way? Two dots and one dash, or
I'll read them. I'll pull them out of a hat and read them.
Yeah, there we go.
And then I can keep it timed to make sure we keep it going.
Yeah, problem solved. There we go.
We're going to put is it the Academy? Is that when they start playing the music and they get you off the stage?
Oh, yeah. The closure music when they start playing the music over top of
Or
it.
the Chappelle one with the wrap it up box. The dude's banging his wife and she's like, seriously, wrap it up.
I'll just turn your mics off. If we learned anything from the presidential debate, someone should just be able to turn the mics off.
Yeah. Oh, that's also those fucking presidential debates. Those are brutal. That's not a bad idea. So this has turned into one long commercial for the website, but go there and do all the things and send some in ideas and questions.
Questions,
and whatever
something you want us to touch on.
But we're obviously still have a lot of guests and stuff in the pipe as well.
Throw them in the mix, like you said, the full table.
Yeah. So that'll be exciting. I know we mentioned the Bitcoin thing, and I know today we were talking about investments and stuff off air. How are you feeling about it, Tony? You think it's going to go to 300,000?
Oh,
Think it's going to do it this year?
Dude, I have no idea.
I still have people who are like, oh, like when we talk, I'm like, oh, that person's they're all into Bitcoin and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's not a bad idea. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. Have you looked into it? Well, no. Well, maybe you should. We said, it's 25 to 30% of all of the U.S. dollars.
You say were printed in the last
have been created in the last year.
Dude, say that one more time, a little bit slower, so everyone catches that.
25 to 30% of all of U.S. currency, the dollar, that is in existence right now, has been created in the last year.
Sounds like it's super strong currency is what it sounds like.
Yeah. So if you haven't
Or
listened
super soft
yeah,
now.
super soft. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to the Texas Bitcoin conversation, that's one more thing that's just like, man, there's something weird going on. Like our dollar can't last this. Well, they're saying now that even taxes, like taxes won't get us out. Like it's impossible. Like even professionals are going, yeah, even taxes they're not going to get us out of this hole.
Dude, so what do you got? Another Great Depression coming or what?
I don't know. That's going to be the interesting thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, kind of going back to a conversation we had when I was with that computer programmer, and he was just like, he doesn't really get into the market too much. He's got some good stuff in his 401k that he checked 10 years ago, and he hasn't checked since. Ooh. And I was like, dude, pull it up. Let's see what it is. And he's like, no, why would I do that? And I'm like, aren't you curious? And he had, it was 4 stocks, and it was like 50 or 55,000. And it was Google, PayPal, I think Apple, and Cisco, I think.
Oh, even with the recent pullbacks, he's doing just dandy.
I was like, dude, you got to have $1 million there. He's like, no way, it's $1 million. I think we figured it was close to like 500,000. But that aside, he was talking about Bitcoin, and he was like, I just don't understand why people are putting money into that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he's a super smart dude. I've had a bunch of different conversations with him, and some of the stuff he says is pretty funny. Like he's very arrogant, and the way he says stuff is sometimes offensive, but I like him because he can always back it up. And I'm like, he could probably say it a little bit differently, but it's kind of fun that he's right. And
couldn't we all?
And it rubs people the wrong way. But no, he said the fact that he's like, it's been hacked twice. And I was like, really? I said, I've never heard that before. I said, why wouldn't they, why wouldn't this be out in the news? They talked about double spending, which actually wasn't true. And he's like, oh, you can go and look it up. Like it's very well known. And he said it got hacked very early on. And then after it got hacked, he said there's some underlying code, and it was made public, which made it infinitely harder to hack. And then I think the second one he said wasn't a true hack. And he's like, so the fact that it can be like hacked, but people are still willing to put their money in it. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
yeah, but but those are two very piss poor examples.
Well, and dude, I'd love to get him on though, man, because he's, I'm probably not doing it justice, and he is smart. I'm not saying that he's right, but he was saying he's not that it shouldn't be worth something. He's saying he thinks it should be more like 25,000 or 30,000, and he's like, I don't understand why people just keep dumping more and more money into it and driven it up to whatever it is now, 54,000, 55,000.
Well, I would like to talk to him because that'd be my question is, if an asset is worth something, it's got to be worth, especially the computer programmer, to look at something that he thinks could be hacked. Then how's it worth anything if it can be hacked? I'd like to know what he's talking about, because I've heard people say like, oh well, this, like when you dig into it, it's kind of like that double spending thing you talked about. Well, it was like, well, it was this anomaly thing, and then when they really dug into it, like it turned out to really not be what we were all afraid of.
I'll ask him for sure, and if he's not willing to come on, because I know he's a little bit more private, but I'll, at least for a link or something that we can read about it.
The research.
Yeah.
And to me, it goes back to that conversation we had that anything could be. I guess give me something that can be hacked less.
Well, and that's what I told him. I said, isn't it one of the most secure? Like I was like, name something else more secure, I guess. And I don't remember if he had a great answer, but I'm just thinking, I mean, how many times do you have to get issued a new card because your bank account got hacked?
Right. But I was just thinking my Visa card.
Probably like three new cards in 1 year, man. And I don't buy a lot of crap offline, so I don't know.
Yeah, or my dollar bill. All right, no one can hack my dollar bill because it's tangible. It's physical.
Pull a gun out and rob you.
Right. Well, even that, I could keep 100,000. I could keep however many of them tucked underneath my bed. But
And what if your house burnt down?
right,
Better have it in fireproof safe or something.
right, or even then, how much is 100,000? Like just using a house value, how much is $100,000 worth now compared to what it was 5 years ago?
Yeah, that's what you said about like the housing market and how
Yeah, like you look at the housing market, man. If you were to buy a $100,000 house 5-10 years ago, that wouldn't get you shit now. And that's only 5 years ago.
maybe 2 acres.
Yeah, like without a house.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah,
2
in
acres
some
of
places,
land. Yeah.
but even some places that wouldn't get you
yeah,
even a fucking quarter of an acre. You know, depending on where you're at.
sure.
You know, so it's just where. So where do you put your money at? You know, where do you do to? There's got to be something. And
Dogecoin.
Doge. Even I'm not a believer of Dogecoin.
Sushi, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, I'm not a believer in any of that shit. I do have some though, just in case.
Of the
As much as
Dogecoin.
as much as Elon Musk and Mark Cuban push it, I'm like,
yeah.
you know what? Just in case this thing goes to $1, I'm gonna have a couple thousand of them because they're like, I think it's like 5 cents.
I was going to
now.
ask if it was like 6 cents
Yeah,
or
it's like
5 cents.
yeah, it's like somewhere around there. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I've spent $200 on dumber things. I'll put $200 into it, and if it turns into, you know, if it goes crazy for a little bit, then all right, then I made a few $100 off of it. You know,
What platform was that on? Was that Robinhood? Because I don't think it was on Coinbase.
Yeah, I think it was on Robinhood, which I heard, you know, speaking of Robinhood, here we go on a completely different topic than I ever thought I'd be on. I heard a conversation between Lex Friedman and I'm trying to remember his name now, but he was the founder of Angel Investing, I think.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember what his name was.
wait, wasn't that Naval?
I don't think Naval was Angel Investing. Can you look up and see who? I can't remember his name, but he's an investor in like startup like companies and like, you know, growing like those small companies into something huge, which I know very little about. I know very little about investing, period. But even less. What's that?
William Wetzel?
Was it William Wetzel? That doesn't sound right. I don't know. He was on the Lex Friedman podcast.
Do you
I
have
think
that
there's a couple of
5x speed?
I do listen to Lex Friedman at like at least 1.5 times to up to 2 times the speed because Lex Friedman talks so slow, which I know English isn't his first
The
language.
sloth at the DMV.
Yeah, he's like, who's that guy that did the really super monotonous actor? He used to do the Clear Eyes commercials
Oh,
for dry clear eyes. Like I'm trying to remember, like
Bueller.
yeah, is that the same? Is that the
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like, but because he's a Russian guy, Lex Friedman is.
Jason Calacanis?
Yes, Jason Calacanis. Is that? Yeah, Jason Calacanis. Sorry, we're all over the place there. So I was listening to a conversation between Lex Friedman and Jason Calacanis, which is actually a really, really good episode. But they talk about investing and they talk about a bunch of different things and the state of kind of how things are. You might want to listen to it sped up because Lex Friedman is an incredibly like intelligent like individual. He works at like MIT doing like AI type stuff, but he's a Russian dude that came over and he's incredibly smart. But they were talking investing and Jason Calacanis was one of the people that I can't remember his name now. The guy that started Robinhood came up to him. So Jason and Elon Musk, I think, were hanging out at some like shithole bar after some kind of meeting or something. And apparently he knows Elon Musk really well. But they were hanging out and this guy came up to him and was it? Nah, I can't remember his name now.
He's got a funky name.
Yeah, what is it? I can't remember his name now. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta fix some shit. But the guy that started Robinhood, he was like, look, he came up to him and he's like, hi, you're Jason or whatever. He's like, yeah. And he told him his name. He goes, all right, so what's your idea? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you recognized me. so you know who I am. So like, what's your idea?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I want to start this investing platform. And it was basically, and to target younger people. And he was like, oh, so you want to start at a platform targeting the only people that don't
have money.
invest? He was like, yeah. Well, how much is it going to cost them? That's the thing. It's free. And he was like, no, like, what kind of fucking ridiculous idea is this? But he talked about how he really looks at investing in, the ideas that people won't think will work, or the crazy ideas, because like we've kind of talked about before, like how the experts are always wrong. The craziest ideas are the ones that can be the most successful. Because if someone's already had the idea before, well, you're doing an idea that someone's already had. So he kind of looks for those crazy ideas.
This is that Jason guy does?
Yeah, the Jason
okay.
Calacanis. Yeah. Okay. So he started, I think he's one of the people that are at top of angel investing. And
is this the same thing as Angel List? Or is this different? Because Naval is a co-founder of Angel List for sure.
I'm sure they know each other. I would imagine, like just that community.
I didn't know. I was like,
I had no idea.
A lot of angels.
Yeah, so. I don't know. But they say like basically like if they have 10 investments, 8 of them are going to completely outright fail.
Got you.
And 2 of them might succeed. One of them will be semi-profitable, and the other one will be, to the moon. So he knows the guy that started Robinhood investing, because for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you heard of the GameStop thing and all. We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But the whole GameStop fiasco, and a lot of people look at Robinhood and think that they were helping the institutional people and the hedge funds, and they were kind of doing their bidding by stopping trading and creating this whole frenzy. We're not going to get into that, but this guy was talking about how like he knows this guy, he helped him start from the ground up, and he was like, he's like, I don't think. He said he doesn't think that's what happened. He says he thinks that there were some things that happened that weren't great because of the situation that was created around that. But he's like, I just don't know if that's. He's like, I don't think that happened, because I know the guy personally. He's like, I don't think that was, people make mistakes, but he's like, I don't think it was all nefarious, and constructed for just to help these hedge fund managers out. But I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Elon interviewed that guy like right after it happened.
Yeah, it was shortly after they were on that Clubhouse. Yeah. Fucking what a douchey thing! Like that's like as if social media weren't douchey enough. Like, oh, we've created a new social media where the elites get together and talk. Like, really, we really need that? Like, isn't social media bad enough as it is? Now it's restricting who gets to be. I don't know. But yeah, Elon is did you ever listen to that? I don't know if it's like public or anything. I never.
Like a little bit of it, I thought. It was like the end, I think. And it had something to do with the fact that I think he asked him if it was a liquidity issue, and he said no. And then later on, he was talking to somebody else, and I thought he said yes. They had to
that was the whole thing, was like they didn't have enough liquiidity to back up the trades.
They needed another $1 billion or something. And,
right.
And so it was very weird that he said no and then yes, and maybe I heard it wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all confusing. There's so much shit out there. I just don't.
I think I saw a statistic today that said like 39% of people don't have anything invested in the stock market. And then it said like 59% of people think it's all rigged or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's rigged in the like pure definition of rigged, because no one really knows. You know what I mean? Because you look at the GameStop thing. They might attempt. I think there's some rigging attemption. That's not a word. There's an attempt at rigging it. You know what I mean? I mean, you have enough money, like you can make it work. But it's kind of like that obscure thought here. If anybody knows Abbott and Costello, what is it? They were like from the fucking 50s. Like the community, Who's on First. Yeah. Did you ever see the one where he did like the dollar bill thing? Or it was like a $10 bill or a $5. Like he's getting change, and all of a sudden he like ended up with like less money than he should have, or whatever. He's like, how the hell did you do that? And even watching it, you're like, oh, that's tricky. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the stock market in a sense. And people like, there's definitely a disadvantage for the normal person. But that's surprising. 30, is that the number? 39% of people don't have anything in the stock market?
39%.
Does that include like mutual funds, like 401ks and everything, or just?
I didn't get to read the full article. It just was the title, and
that's actually surprisingly low.
Yeah.
I would think.
You figured it was like over 50%.
That'd be my guess. I wonder if that number is just like recent. Because I feel like the last year people have they got bored. Like me.
Everybody's an expert.
Everybody.
Everybody's an expert.
I wonder.
Must be nice.
I wonder if that includes like 401ks and stuff. Because a lot of people like just put money in a 401k and they don't even realize what.
Yeah, some fund or some.
Right. I mean, which is better than nothing. To have something.
Till the bottom falls out because of
diversification. I was talking to somebody. They were commenting on the Texas Bitcoin episode. And I think honestly, I think their first text to me was, so like this whole Bitcoin thing, like, and I just kind of like just laid it out like a real simple explanation again, like how like I don't think it's like currency, but it's kind of the transformation of currency through time and how we're kind of in a pivotal point of evolution in a sense of financial systems. And I said something about like I kind of thought the same thing years ago until like I started learning about it, and they're like, wait a minute, like, so you actually own Bitcoin? And I was like, well, yeah, I said I believe in it. Why the fuck would I own it if I believe in it? Like, I'm not trying to like I said, this isn't financial advice. I have no fucking credentials whatsoever, but it's something that like I looked into and I was like, man, like this looks interesting. But at the same time, like I think in my mind, well, it's that diversification. It's all right. Well, what happens if this or this or that, whatever? Like, all right, well,
are you going to invest, Dad?
Yeah. Are you going to invest? You son of a bitch. Boats and hers.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. But in my mind, I think we talked about before too, where it was, all right, well, like I also think about if my power shut off, where am I going to get water?
Yeah.
How am I going to eat? How am I going to keep my family warm? Like if it's middle of winter, like I think about all those things. So to me, Bitcoin is just a piece of that puzzle. Like, all right, well, how much gold jewelry can I melt down and use for something if people need it for something, can I sell that? I don't know. I think about a lot of weird shit.
Probably gonna have to melt it down and use it for ammunition.
Yeah. Also that, who knows?
Gold balls.
Yeah. If you can.
I don't have any gold jewelry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you do a little bit. There's not much your ring's made of gold. Oh. I wasn't that cheap.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. It should be real diamonds. I paid for real diamonds. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe bullets won't be worth anything if they take all the guns. I always think that's a funny concept too.
Taking all the guns.
Like the super right wingers that think the government's going to take all your guns. That's kind of a silly concept. They might make it illegal. They might make things illegal and
or
make it hard to get them,
or a tax stamp or something tax related,
all those
or
things,
ammunition or something that makes it difficult or highly expensive to own them or shoot
absolutely, or ammunition that might be difficult to get, or maybe that could the production of that could stop. But
what do you mean it hasn't already stopped?
Oh yeah, no shit.
I heard they're making it 24/7, and I don't know if that's true. I did read a statistic recently too that said, I can't remember what percentage of population the United States comprises of the world population, like 3%, something like that. I mean, I know we could figure it out pretty easily, but it was like they comprise 3% of the world population, and they own 45% of all firearms.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
I do too.
Which I guess that's the thing for me is on the whole topic of all the whole gun thing, because that's obviously became a bigger issue recently. You got something for us?
The United States population is equivalent to 4.25% of the total world population.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's it's not very many. But if we have
We love our guns.
But if we have all the guns, yeah. But when's the last time
You had a baby, it gets a gun.
you get a gun? You
get a gun.
Yeah, but I know, like we talked to how many times we've said that the U.S. hasn't been around for a while, but
Yeah, we're trying to make sure it stays around for a while.
absolutely. And at the same time, like when if people know their world history and their not even necessarily their world history, but their world news. When's the last time a foreign adversary tried to invade the United States?
Yeah, and I don't even know if it'd be so much as an issue of successfully invading it, maybe even holding it. Like that's what I've heard before. And I'm not saying it'd be easy because, I mean, you turn on the news, Charmin soft.
Super
You come to a
soft.
local bar, true grit.
Yeah, I think there's a disproportion of how people look at America, including Americans, look at America on both sides, left and right. Like we have such a weird filter in front of our eyes of like people aren't really looking at everything as a whole, like and understanding what's really going on.
Isn't that how Trump got elected? They
Yeah.
said, there's no way this dude's going to get in.
Here we go. Yeah. 4 years later, he didn't get back in, but that was their problem is they didn't expect something like that to happen. Well, and so going back to, I think the biggest thing for me, the Second Amendment always comes back to, regardless of how many faults and shitty things our forefathers did, because we could talk about that for a long time. But, the people a lot of times they'll use that. Well, the Second Amendment wasn't made for quote unquote assault rifles, whatever the fuck that means, because all guns are made to assault things. So whatever, we won't get into definitions right now. It's fine. But like, no, the Second Amendment was for people to be able to protect themselves. And at that time it was a lot of times people talk about the Second Amendment now like it's the idea that people are supposed to be able to protect themselves against other people. Really, you think about the time that was made and the time that was created in that amendment. Like, I'm just assuming here, but I would think that shortly after what those folks just got through and we're currently dealing with, and if you don't know, maybe you should do some research. Like, the Second Amendment was to protect themselves from a government with too much power. Like, that's exactly what was happening. They were like, no, hey, Britain, go fuck off. And then it was, hey, we see how governments throughout history become tyrannical over their people. So we want to, as a united people, create something to, be able to stop that in the future.
That and apparently there's something called the puckle gun, I think. And it was like some sort of a quote unquote assault rifle that was back in the 1700s. So maybe our forefathers did know a thing or two about the assault rifle.
Yeah. I think there's just so much closed-mindedness that goes around, typically, especially guns. Obviously they do a lot of damage to our nation as a whole, which is, it's a whole different topic that you could obviously talk about for.
Dude, right there. 1718, James Puckle invented a patent. What was essentially a machine gun. The Puckle gun had a preloaded cylinder which held 11 charges and could fire 63 shots in 7 minutes. 9 shots a minute, baby. That sounds like an assault rifle to me.
That was fast then.
Yeah.
That was cooking.
I mean, I could probably beat it with a slingshot, but.
Yeah, that was cooking then, though. But, I think that's just it gets lost on a lot of people where we don't look at all of the factors of the things we're arguing for or against, or, and I think it's perpetuated by, going back to the media and social media. Like when you can only type out, so many characters and you can't have the interaction of like seeing people's facial expressions or hearing their tone, or, you know, even going back to, you know, the Miles episode, you know, where it's, hey, like, you can't tell people are joking around, or you can't, you know, like, there's so much lost in social media. And I'm coming to the point where I used to get really angry about it, but I think we just didn't know what to do with it. Like, you look at 20 years ago, none of this shit existed at all. Like, so, like, I mean, barely. You know, the internet was becoming a thing. But even then, do you remember?
Chat room, bro.
And that, do you remember where you were at 1999, December 31st at 11:59 p.m.?
No.
No,
No, dude, I have no idea.
I do.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I was old enough to grasp some concepts, but young enough to be like, like, people thought the world was going to end because of the technology couldn't keep up. And when it flipped over to 2000, fucking now look at us. What? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just think we just don't know how to handle it. And some people, instead of, they get trapped. And I found myself getting trapped too. Like, well, we talked about when Miles was like, I've been on Facebook currently for 3 months now. Like, yeah, there's a point where sometimes you just got to delete that shit and just walk away and go fucking read a book or stare at the sun. You know, do something like different. Like,
AANA and TA, Technology Anonymous.
yeah, man.
Here's your chip. You've been off for 3 months.
Yeah.
So bringing that back to, I mean, what point were you making there as it pertained to guns or the Second Amendment?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of conversation around the Second Amendment and guns, and there's so many words that people use and so many arguments that people use that are so not thoroughly thought out. And I think that's the problem, is we don't thoroughly think things out anymore. That no one's willing to sit down and really hear those other opinions or give them properly either.
Yeah.
You know, and really to take some time and think about a complex and realize hey, this is a complex issue. And to just say, get rid of it, or no, this, no, that, this one bullet point. Like, we are complex beings, and we're only continuing to get, through technology and all these things we have, more complex. So do you think, like, to have a conversation around something that exists, it has to be a complex conversation? And I think that's what's getting lost, where it's, well, the forefathers didn't have automatic rifles. Okay, I get that. But guess what? Neither do citizens, because those are illegal.
Yeah.
Like, and you ask a typical person that, maybe not typical, but like I think we've talked about Colin Noir.
Yeah.
You know, a super intelligent guy who is very pro gun.
Yep.
I saw a conversation with him the other day that was talking about essentially that, like, look, like, the Second Amendment wasn't just made so people could have guns. It was made to protect the people,
From
the nation, from a tyrannical government.
there you go.
So, and I think that's where I lie with that. Like, you know, I don't think people should be allowed to own bazookas. Like, those are bad. Like, you know, an automatic, like, you know, like belt fed, like Gatling guns. Like, yeah, I'd love to have one. Not that I would ever buy one, because I don't have that kind of money to, like, waste.
Break out the saw, get some.
Yeah, like, there's no reason for that. But, like, you know, the AR-15 is a very hot issue. Like, to me, like, I kind of agree that, like, an AR doesn't stand for assault rifle. I think maybe that's why it's irritating too, because I think they've used those two letters and tagged them assault rifles to, like, make that mental connection with people. But like that gun, like you can use that for hunting. Like, and people are like, oh, why do you need so many rounds? Like that, you don't need that many rounds for hunting. Well, I haven't personally, but I know a handful of people, and a lot of people that have dealt like in Tennessee and some of the southern states with hogs.
I was just gonna say, you ever shot a pig before?
Yeah. Have you ever got like, you need more than 5 rounds to take down a 500-pound hog. Like, that's why you need, like, and those hogs like destroy shit. Like, and people are like, oh, well, that's because we're on their land. Like,
Yeah, or yotes. I mean, you get a pack of them out there.
yeah, you get a pack of coyotes, and all of a sudden you only got 2 rounds. You get some coyotes that get frisky enough. Guess what? You get eaten. And if you're okay, I'm cool with that. Like, we want to throw, we want to bring back like mountain lions and shit. Cool. But
Oh my God, it's a real live cougar.
yeah. Yeah. Like, have you seen that video with the guy that was out running and ran across the mountain lion with her cubs?
Hi.
Wow, stop. You're crazy. Like, he's throwing rocks and shit. Like, yeah, guess what? If I'm in bear country, like, or what was that, like, where the Kodiak bears or whatever, at those giant, like, guess what? I want a fucking gun to protect myself from the animals.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of wrap this up with this. Like, those people are like, oh, well, we're on the animals' homes. Okay. Well, start sleeping in a tent out in the middle of nowhere without anything to protect you. You're okay with getting eaten? Okay, great. All right, well, guess what? You also don't get any vaccines. You also don't get processed food. You also don't get, like, you can't take
modern medicine.
You can't pick and choose from human innovation and say, well, we shouldn't, like, there's got to be some give and take here. So, you let a tarantula sleep in your bed with you? Oh, like, or, poisonous things. Like, if you want to do that, go ahead and take your risks.
Yeah, or just go live in Australia.
Yeah, fuck that.
Well,
it looks really cool, but
yeah. What do they say about is it a well-armed society? Is it a polite society?
Mm-hmm. And we can get off the guns, but that's the thing that kills me. No, maybe I should use a different word. That's the thing that really irritates me about the whole. And obviously, I'm not saying that all the other things about like mass shootings and stuff like that, these are terrible events. I would never, I'd never make like these light of terrible events that happen like this. But we've talked about, the person that tries to put everything into perspective. 10 people getting shot up in a grocery store. We should try to do something about that, or kids and do something about that. I'm all for, and I've heard a lot of people say like that waiting periods and stuff shouldn't be a thing. You know what? I'm not even against some waiting periods for background checks, and maybe some kind of mental health assessment. I don't know, but look at some of the cities and some of the some of the places that like.
Yeah, I was gonna literally. You said one person, 10 people died.
Right.
One person died, but thousands of times.
And most of gun violence, I think, is suicide, particularly in 2020. I love that people like, we've seen a lot of things about the uptick in mass shootings now, the uptick in gun violence. I've seen a lot of things recently about the uptick in gun violence now it's probably gonna continue since everyone's getting back to normal. Guess what? In 2020, there was more death from guns than ever in a year. The gun violence and death didn't
Never
go
stopped,
away.
Yeah. We just stopped reporting on it as much.
Increased. We stopped reporting on it.
Yeah.
So, and now what we're reporting on, we're reporting on these.
Because it fits a narrative, and now we're going for guns.
And the thing that kills me the most is like when you look at statistically, like some of the big cities and the violence, and it's not saying the big cities because of certain people. It's when you have more people, you're going to have more violence. That's just how it is. But you look at Chicago, like there was a string in a couple months where there were more weekends than not in a row that
Multiple
20,
homicides.
30, 40 people were victims of gun violence in single weekends, over and over and over.
Yeah, where was that on the news?
Never hear a peep about that. 40 people die
Yeah,
in the same city from gun, but
or Los Angeles, or Baltimore, or New York, or wait, left cities.
yeah, and I don't like to take it to like the left and right thing. It is kind of.
I'm not either. It's just interesting.
No, yeah, it isn't. There's some correlation there, but to me, that's where I have a hard time. Is I'm not in when if people could hear if people could hear me freaking out like my wife does, I get why because she pushes back on me quite a bit on sometimes because I complain about how these things get reported, and I could come off as a trying to think of the word, like a right wing, not supporter, but a empathizer, and that's not where my mind's at. And now I'm trying to figure out how to articulate myself properly in some of these situations because what it is I see, okay, 8 people got shot by this person that clearly has a mental disorder. Supposedly, allegedly, whatever. And then huge, massive national story. All the big people are it's coverage wall to wall. And then a week later, 10 people die from, another person that does these terrible things. But in the meantime, 100 people have died in one city from gun violence. That it's the hypocrisy and the not like reporting fairly. It's this weird like construction of narrative
sure.
That's what I see, and it's like wow, like, and it's hard to say that. It's hard to.
Without going, oh, he sounds like a right-wing empathizer. So, there needs to be some sort of continuity of reporting of, like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You need to report this? Well, let's focus on these 100 here, and let's focus on, what's going on in those cities. And it goes back to what I said, kind of the root problems. Maybe it's not really a gun problem. Maybe it's a socioeconomic issue. Maybe it's creating more opportunities for the neighborhoods and some of the citizens that are their issue. Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't put a Band-Aid on it. Maybe we should actually try and cure the problem, which I know is a tall order and it's very complex.
Yeah. And that's I guess that's what gets me down is I don't think that's going to happen because it's so complex and it's so ingrained and it's such a widespread complex issue with millions and millions and millions of people, and the politicians couldn't give a shit less. It's basically what it boils down to. They're just using certain stories and certain headlines to pay their fucking cronies off. And I really think that's just what Republican, Democrat, that's just what it is. When you see some of these bills that get passed or some of the bills they're trying to get passed and all this debate and this, that, whatever. And
is Chicago still gun-free? Like you're not allowed to own a handgun in Chicago?
Completely illegal.
Completely illegal, you said?
Yeah, not allowed. No guns.
That's New York City too?
New York, from my understanding, New York you can, but it's very, 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 very,
difficult.
very, very hard. Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta jump through a lot of hoops.
What about LA?
Same with California. Like it's
all of California's.
Yeah, I don't think all of California, but I think some of the cities are. I don't know. Like I'm not an expert on that, but like I know that like Chicago is technically, and I could be wrong, but from what I know, Chicago is a gun-free zone. But there's more deaths there every week by guns than I think anywhere in the world. Not in the world. Sorry, not in the nation. Like the city, like it just seems.
What about Baltimore gun laws?
I have no idea about that one. The only reason I know like New York, you can have guns because I have known people that live there.
Okay,
it's very difficult to get. You have to have it registered and all. Like you got to jump through a lot of hoops.
Got some gun laws for us there, Cass?
Yeah, but I know it just none of it all. When you when you can really step back and look at everything, it just doesn't make sense. If you look at it with a, just a, I lost the word too. It's been a long weekend, Tone. Objective point of view. Like when you really just look at the facts and just look at the numbers, and it's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel from like a personal standpoint? And I know I've been raised with guns. I always had a gun since I was like 5 years old.
Right.
I feel very comfortable around firearms. I was taught to be acutely aware of your surroundings, knowing your exits. You don't want people coming up behind you, so positionally, where you're at. I feel very comfortable knowing that other people might have guns on them, because if the situation arises that the people around me might need to protect themselves, I would hope that they're fairly well trained. Right. And I know that this area geographically, like, there's a lot of gun people.
Right.
I see people shooting all the time. If I was in a room with my buddies, I'd feel pretty comfortable if anything went down that, they're trained, they know what they're doing. I guess, like, personally, how do you feel pretty comfortable with other people being around you owning guns?
No, I do. I think, and maybe this is a geographical thing, but at the same time, as a geographical issue, I find that most people are afraid of things they know nothing about. And I think this issue is kind of one of those things that fits into that. There's obviously outliers, and there's obviously times where things just go wrong. But I think for the most part, and I'm a very mathematical person, like I've talked about, I think statistically and mathematically, for the most part, the people that are aware of how guns work and what they are and are familiar with them are typically supporters of them. And people that don't understand, the type of person that owns guns, or the type, I think there's a great divide that's happened, between, in a very broad spectrum of the city folk and the rural folk of the world. And there's, I think it's the two biggest ones, I think, are maybe not the two biggest ones, but two very glaring ones are, folks that are typically in cities are very liberal and, anti-gun, just for a broad brush, because they don't have those things. Obviously, like, people shouldn't be just carrying a shotgun around Times Square. Like, what are you doing? There's no need for that. You know what I mean? But, like, at the same time, guess what? You go out into a rural environment, people aren't carrying a shotgun into the Walmarts. They're not just walking around with them.
They might have it on the rack in their truck, but
right. But that's different. You know what I mean? Like, you're not, like,
I don't know. There's that one local dude that wears that badge, and he open carries like a revolver.
Oh, Jesus.
You ever seen that dude at the Walmarts?
Well, that's I have not. But I think at the same time, like, we need to understand people are weird. People are different. People are diverse. Like, even if they look just like you, that person is completely different than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that we don't, like, we try to...
Unless they're a carbon copy of your avatar.
Yeah, stop it. I think we get so stuck trying to get ourselves into a tribe, as it were, that we forget that, like, even as close as your best friends are, or the people you are closest to, like, that person's an entirely different person than you with so many different things. And if people would start being honest with themselves and with each other, you'd realize how different people are. You know what I mean? Even if your best friend, like, or, your wife, that's your best friend, like, the people that, like, have been married for 60 years, they just happen to fit together properly, or they've made themselves fit together properly. They've created that environment.
I think the latter.
But yeah, like, they've worked on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are two very different people. So, like, to think that, like, everyone's the same. Like, yeah, there's going to be some outliers. There's going to be some crazy ones out there. You know, I'm obviously a supporter of that because you look at, to me, I think the biggest thing is you look at around the world today. How many democracies are there out there, and how much freedom do people really have? That it goes back to that discussion of I think we don't realize how much freedom we have in this country, and how it's
fading fast.
It seems to be slowly. I'd say slowly eroding, but it's been happening for a long time.
I'd like to see it on like a histogram kind of style, where
Yeah.
like we had this amount of freedom from this period of time.
Yeah, but represented properly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You know, but I think that's the biggest thing is we are so consumed with infighting. Maybe that's what it is. We're so consumed with infighting that we are no longer realizing what the rest of the world is going through and how easy we have it. You know, I will. I don't know who said the quote, or who created it or whatever, but I know I've heard Rogan say it a handful of times that, and I really like when you really think about it and you really
just the hard times.
Yeah. Push all the bullshit away. Like, I get it, whatever. But the hard times create hard men. Hard men create easy times. Easy times create soft men. Soft men create hard times.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, women, whatever you want to say, like, because women are a big part of that too. But just taking the saying as a, like, it's true. You look at when's the last time we had a hard time in this country? World War II-ish. And really that wasn't that hard for as far like World War II was atrocious, but was World War II really that hard for us compared to some of the other countries around the world?
Yeah.
That wasn't shit for us.
I mean, all things are relative, so.
Right, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The last time we've really seen, I mean, United States has never really seen that much of a hard time.
Civil War.
Yeah, but there's countries that have been going through
Civil Wars
War
forever. Yeah.
before we started the Civil War,
Sure.
and are still going through it. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to look at that as a whole grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm just
people don't look at through that lens.
I
Like,
know, but I'm not trying to downplay anyone's real problems or any suffering.
No,
So-
but I think I'm not trying to downplay.
No, and I know you are. I just want to make sure like listeners understand that we're not trying to diminish anything that someone's gone through, or to go, hey, well, that wasn't hard for you, even though you were abused or were whatever. Nothing like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's good to try to put in perspective as a whole. I think it was when through the one conversation we had. I can't remember who it was with now, but like it was. We weren't chosen to be born here. You could have been born anywhere.
Yeah.
What other life could you be living right now? Incidentally, there's a lot of places around the world that, you know what? I feel fucking lucky.
Yeah.
That I was born here. And in my mind, I like to understand what the rest of the world, or at least attempt to understand what the rest of the world is going through. So I can not downplay the bad things that people go through here, but to appreciate the good things that we have.
Sure. I always talk to my patients about dig deep enough and you'll find a blessing regardless of how dark the situation seems.
Yeah. Amen. What we got?
Not that we're going
A
to
woman.
bring it back to guns, but I spent all that time because there is a lot of misconceptions about Chicago gun laws. But as it turns out, no matter how many times people say Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country, it's not true. Gun laws in New York, LA, San Fran are all much stricter than Chicago's are today. If you live in the city of Chicago, you can own firearms. You just have to meet certain criteria. You have to be 21 years of age or older. You have to have a owner's identification card, which you just get from the state. I did see that there is a longer
Wait time.
wait time. You must have a concealed carry license if you intend to remove the gun from your home.
Wait, so can you concealed carry in Chicago?
So I'm finding different things. Like
Did
there
it
are
say
certain
pistol too? Did it
times.
specify?
Like this is, there's a lot. It's changed. There's a history of.
Right. No, well, I will say I never said that you couldn't. Well, maybe I did. Maybe I did allude that you couldn't own guns in Chicago.
Sounds like we need to do a little more research.
No,
Not you, I'm just saying us
no,
in
yeah,
general
no,
on
yeah,
this. I'd like
in
to know
general.
the different cities. Like,
Yeah, for sure. But I think you can't deny how many people die from gun violence in Chicago. So I would like to know how many of those guns. And this is, I think this gets tossed out by
how many of those were legally
the Republican,
registered
yeah,
guns?
the Republican side, and it gets tossed aside by the typical liberal side of things. We'll just say gun people versus, because
no
you never
lefts, no
know.
rights, just
Because
say
because
anti-guns.
there's some Democrats that I've met that are for guns.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, so I think the one point that gets brought up a lot by gun people and tossed out by non-gun people is, or just gets skated over, is, all right, well, like you said, how many of those guns are legal that are killing people in some of these places?
Yeah, have serial numbers, weren't bought off the street, can be traced to some sort of a store with a background check done.
Right. And to me, like, I'm for those things.
As am I.
In a sense. You know what I mean? Like, but it just goes to the point that there's a lot more to that topic than guns kill people. Well, no shit. So do knives and cars and airplanes and fucking McDonald's.
Fair point.
You know what I mean? So like, to me, I'm a root cause guy.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. These are problems, but we're not going to fix the problem. We're not going to fix people dying from getting rid of the bullets.
Yeah, it sounds like we should look at it from a standpoint of a provider, man. Form a differential diagnosis. Like, here's our symptoms. Well, let's look at the symptoms and go try and find. And there might not be a root cause. It might be multiple things.
Right, but let's work on those things.
Oh yeah.
Because those things are going to be more impactful than anything.
Yeah, instead of just Band-Aids.
Right, because Band-Aids fucking.
They fall off after you take a shower. And
they don't fix bullet holes.
Nope.
It's like the same thing. We talked about the trees and stuff. You know what? You cut yourself with a chainsaw, you can't stitch up hamburger. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like taking a knife and cutting you. You shred your meat with a fucking chainsaw. You can't stitch up hamburger.
Yeah.
But you know what you can do is to teach the person using the chainsaw.
Yeah. Corrective actions, common sense, put your chaps on, put your hard hat on, know how you're cutting, use two hands.
Let's try to avoid making contact with this thing that's going to shred me to pieces.
Making changes so that it's not repeated.
That's right. And staying chronically curious and asking questions.
Cool.